Can you talk about Grey Machine?
Yeah, that's, to be honest, I should have mentioned, when we were discussing Godflesh, I should have mentioned that was also another catalyst for the Godflesh Reformation.
Oh, how so?
Absolutely. Recording that album, even when I initially started the Grey Machine project, which again was started as a solo venture, for a number of ideas I had that were exploring what I felt as a new form of musical brutality for myself. Anyway, whereas Godflesh was restrictive and intentionally minimal and restrictive. When I came with the concepts for Grey Machine, it was me wanting to explore a similar brutality to what Godflesh had explored, but I wanted it to be sprawling, messy, open-ended, layer upon layer upon layer of sound. No absolutely tangible structure, so to speak. You know, I wanted to explore something open-ended, you know. When I first started recording pieces for Grey Machine, and that was when it came to me that it should be an expansive thing, literally in terms of a lineup as well, you know, getting more people involved, like, you know, of course, Aaron Turner,
right,
Isis, Holman Gloom, etc. I mean, him and I had always talked at great length about trying to do something collaboratively anyway, and that really did make sense. That was, you know, the project that we should explore, amongst a lot of my usual cohorts as well, you know. But yeah, that project, as we started to work more at that album, it really, you know, it occurred to me that I was thrilled again to be exploring something so brutal, so nihilistic, you know. Which again was definitely, that was around the time of recording and really getting into doing the Grey Machine album that I started to get quite nostalgic about Godflesh and started listening to older Godflesh records again, which I hadn't done for some time at that time, you know.
Wow. So
I found it inspirational all round, you know. And I love that, the Grey Machine album, you know. I'm really proud of that record. I mean, it definitely got met with an awful lot of derision, which was a pleasure. And I think, I mean, particularly, I think it was at the time, quite clearly, Jesu was quite established at that time. Isis particularly was established. I think there was a certain expectation that any project that involved Aaron and I would be somewhat a meeting of Isis and Jesu, you know, which obviously couldn't be any further from the truth. And, you know, and Aaron and I discussed this, you know, we both clearly have an absolute obsession with utter brutality within music, you know. And that's what we wanted to explore. There was no way there was going to be some easy route, you know what I mean? I mean, the whole Grey Machine thing for me is, I wish I had more time to do the next record, you know, because we're really excited about the next record, which has got more people in the band as well, more people in the lineup, more guests. So we're really excited about where this next record will go, because we know it will be way more extreme than that first album, you know. I love the premise, you know, I love the premise of what we were exploring there, you know, and I'm really excited about the next record, yeah. Which hopefully we'll start actually putting something together next year. That's my hope, anyway.
I certainly do hope so. Then when you're in the studio, do you have moments where you're just sort of playing around in the studio and you don't have any particular project you're working towards, and then you just sort of come up with something and assign it to one of your, you know, personas or projects?
That is actually fairly rare. What often happens is I'll have something completely in mind. Like I'll go in the studio with something very specific about a specific project I want to work on. And what often happens is, as I'm working on it, I'll lose the discipline, or I'll lose the reins, or the focus, and then it may end up accidentally becoming something else, you know.
Okay.
That's quite often what happens more than anything. I'm the sort of person who needs to have a very clear personal set of directives or ideas, or I need something tangible to go in with conceptually, and then it can go anywhere from there, if you know what I mean. That's just the way I like it. If I just go in as a blank canvas and have no real like starting point or starting ideas or concepts, I often find that blank canvas will remain empty for the entire duration of the day, you know. I need something. That's the thing with me. I absolutely need an idea. I need a spark. I need something to set me excited and get me working on something, and then it can go anywhere, you know. And then it could end up being quite literally any given project. Within reason, that is. It's very rare I'd go in the studio and accidentally come across a Jesu song, it must be said.
Okay.
That's very specific. But in terms of a lot of the other stuff, a lot of my more minor, smaller projects, to some extent, things can really float, you know.
So do you go in with a certain discipline, like, or what kind of methodology do you use for yourself to sort of stay on point and create, as opposed to maybe getting distracted, or, like you said, going in with a blank canvas and coming out with a blank canvas?
Yeah, that's soul destroying, you know. Because there's nothing more I hate than being in the studio and not coming with anything, or just banging my head against the wall. And I'm not the sort of person who will work at something, get frustrated, and leave it. I'll keep going, you know. So I'm like my own worst enemy in a way, because it's like if I get frustrated if I don't reach anything, then I'll keep trying to reach it, as opposed to a lot of more sensible people than I would just leave it there and then, you know. But I keep coming back for more, you know. Just torture myself. But something may come of that, but often doesn't. I just have to have a very, very set idea. And a lot of these ideas are born from just literal thought, you know, or just listening to others' music. You know, I do spend a good part of my day listening to other music, besides doing normal things like, you know, reading or browsing through art or watching films or whatever, which is all inspirational. I mean, you know, for me, life itself, I can have a walk in the country and get inspiration for a song or whatever, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Largely I'm going in with an idea that's been embedded in my brain from the night before, you know. And it's something I'll develop in my head, quite literally. Even this can be from A to B all the way to Z, you know, will be in my head quite literally. And it's literally, for me then, it's just trying to interpret musically what I've had stewing in my head from the night before or the week before or whatever, really. Trying to chase that dream, you know, to some extent. I mean, I find that when I imagine music, it's somewhat hallucinatory, you know. I find it very, very dreamlike. And that, for me, is the magic of it, you know, just like dreams, where they feel displaced, yet centered at the same time, you know, where there's some sort of comfort in it, some sort of warmth, but it's also alien as well. And I find when I imagine music, it's that same somewhat hallucinatory, surreal, somewhat beyond reality, you know, somewhat out there somewhere, you know. And it's then me trying to make that dream a reality, and that's how I generally look at music. I feel myself, I fail at trying to realise these dreams, and that's it for me. I'm always continually trying to realise these dreams and failing. But the failure is part of it, you know, for me. It's like that's what it's all about. It's all flawed. Everything I do is flawed. And it's almost something I've by now, at my age and how long I've been working with music, is something I'm proud of. I can wear this as a badge now.
Right.
I can admit to it, you know what I mean, as opposed to saying my records are perfect. I think, on the contrary, they're absolutely flawed from the bottom up. But I think in some way I've become, for me, it's potentially the beauty of my music, if there is any there, is the fact that it is extremely human. And it recognises itself. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly.
You know, like I'm saying, you know, trying to make dreams real is a laborious, unrealistic process, really.
Yeah.
It's not for want of trying.